Hey everyone, let's break down some really positive updates coming out of the Chargers camp ahead of their matchup with the Buccaneers. The injury report has given us some encouraging developments to discuss. Now, there was a bit of concern on Wednesday when Justin Herbert wasn't at practice, which naturally raised some eyebrows. But here's the great news. Herbert was back out there on Thursday, and he even confirmed in his press conference that he's ready to go. That's absolutely crucial for the Chargers' chances in this game. We're also seeing Rashawn Slater getting some limited work in, which is definitely a step in the right direction. And speaking of veterans, Khalil Mack's absence on Wednesday was just a scheduled rest day. He's now back to full participation, which is exactly what you want to see. The only players still dealing with issues are Trey Pipkins and Joey Bosa, though honestly at this point, Bosa's absence has become somewhat expected. The team has had to adjust to playing without him for quite a while now. The biggest takeaway here is having Herbert back in action. I mean, let's be real. Without your starting quarterback, everything else becomes almost secondary. But having him healthy and ready to go changes the whole dynamic. And with Rashawn Slater trending in the right direction after being a game-time decision last week, things are looking much more promising for the Chargers. Now, regarding Slater, they're taking a cautious approach by keeping him limited in practice, which honestly makes a lot of sense. You want to be smart with a player of his caliber and not rush anything. Looking at the playoff picture, and I've analyzed this from multiple sources, the situation is really interesting in the AFC. The Chargers are right there in the mix with the Broncos for those crucial 6th and 7th seed. When you look at the teams sitting at 6 wins, the Colts and Dolphins, the math becomes pretty clear. The Chargers need to win just 2 of their remaining 4 games. In fact, if they secure a win this week, their playoff probability shoots up to an impressive 96%. What's particularly remarkable about this situation is the context. This is year 1 under Jim Harbaugh's leadership, with a new GM and a completely fresh regime. To be in playoff contention at this stage, that's exceptional. Most teams going through a leadership transition typically face a much steeper uphill battle. It's rare to see a team potentially making the playoffs in their first year under new management. The loss to the Chiefs last week was tough, no doubt about it. But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you have to be impressed with where this team stands. Now, with the schedule ahead, the path is clear. They need 2 wins from their next 4 games. The fact that we're even having this playoff conversation in year 1 of a rebuild really speaks volumes about the direction this franchise is heading. Let me know if you'd like me to continue analyzing the upcoming schedule and breaking down their path to the playoffs. The reason the Chargers only need 2 wins from their final 4 games is thanks to their impressive run between weeks 8 and 14, where they put together that fantastic stretch of winning 5 out of 7 games. That strong performance has given them some breathing room now. Breaking down their remaining schedule, we're looking at what you might call manageable games against New England and Las Vegas. And I say manageable carefully because in the NFL, any team can win on any given Sunday. Then there's that matchup with Denver. Interestingly, they could beat Denver, lose the other 3, and still potentially find their way into the playoffs. There are multiple paths available here. Win any 2 games and they're practically in. While it's not exactly a magic number situation, it's pretty close to that. Now, looking ahead a bit, and yes, it might be early for this conversation, but Field Yates released his first mock draft, projecting Tyler Warren from Penn State to the Chargers. This is fascinating because Warren is exactly the kind of versatile player that modern NFL offenses dream about. He's essentially a fullback in a tight end's body with a lineman's frame. Plus, he can catch. Just look at that touchdown he had for Penn State. That's the kind of playmaking ability we're talking about. But here's what makes this really exciting. The Chargers are already in playoff contention in year 1 under Jim Harbaugh. The whole mindset and culture have shifted. Now, imagine what happens when you start adding pieces through smart drafting with a competent general manager. We're talking about the potential to stack 2, 3, maybe 4 solid draft classes. The foundation is already there, and that's what we're talking about here is exactly what successful franchises do. They build through consistently smart drafting. Look at those picks. Amon-Ra, Aiden Hutchinson. Those are the kind of foundational pieces that transform a franchise. Then you follow up with players like Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs. Suddenly you're stacking talent on talent. For the Chargers, projecting to pick somewhere in the mid-20s range, that's actually an ideal spot to be in. Sure, you're not getting those top 5 picks anymore, but that's exactly where you want to be as a franchise. It means you're making the playoffs, you're competitive, and you're building something sustainable. This is such a departure from what both these franchises experienced in previous years, constantly picking around that 9th spot, just outside the range of those clear-cut blue-chip prospects. You know, when there are 7 can't-miss players and you're picking 9th, that's a tough spot to be in. You might as well be picking in the 20s, because at least then it means you're competing in the playoffs. Now, looking ahead to this Buccaneers matchup, it's an intriguing situation. Tampa Bay has somehow managed to take control of the NFC South, and they're showing they're no pushover. They're the only team that's managed to beat Detroit this season. They are just coming off a strong performance in the last game, where they defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 28-13. This win was crucial for Tampa Bay, improving their season record to 7-6 and keeping them on top of the NFC South Division standings. Quarterback Baker Mayfield led the charge, throwing 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter, one to Jalen McMillan and another to Rachaad, helping the Bucs jump to an early 14-0 lead. Despite some turnovers in the second quarter, Mayfield remained composed and connected with McMillan again in the fourth quarter, sealing the win with another touchdown. On the defensive side, the Buccaneers were sharp, forcing key turnovers and holding the Raiders' offense in check throughout the game. This disciplined defensive effort was pivotal in limiting scoring opportunities for Las Vegas and maintaining control of the game. What makes this matchup particularly intriguing is Baker Mayfield's recent play. Over the last 3 games, he's shown remarkable improvement in the red zone, completing 68% of his passes inside the 20. This efficiency could test the Chargers' defense in critical situations. However, there's a key stat working in the Chargers' favor. Mayfield has struggled significantly when pressured, with his completion percentage dropping to 47% under pressure. This sets up an interesting chess match between the Chargers' pass rush and Tampa Bay's protection schemes. But here's what makes this particularly interesting. Tampa Bay has struggled against the run this season, which is uncharacteristic for them. Their defensive strategy has typically been to play solid defense and let Baker Mayfield manage the game on offense. But in the NFL, it all comes down to 2 fundamental aspects: running the ball and stopping the run. When you can do both, you're in every game. When you can't, that's when things get challenging. A fascinating storyline to watch is Stone Smart's potential expanded role, especially with Joshua Kelly out. After his solid performance last game, we could see him getting more touches in the ground game. This leads to one of the critical matchups. Can the Chargers establish their run game against this Buccaneers defense? Now, let's talk about this Chargers defense. They've been absolutely phenomenal, especially against top-tier NFL offenses. They're facing a Buccaneers team that will be missing some key pieces like Rachaad and Mike Evans. What's been most impressive about this defensive unit is their disciplined play. They keep everything in front of them, play smart football, and don't beat themselves. For Chargers fans, this defensive transformation has to be one of the most encouraging developments of the season. The growth we've seen from this defense, combined with their improved running game and overall team development, really showcases how they've evolved into a legitimate playoff contender. With the pieces they have in place and their current trajectory, this matchup against Tampa Bay could be another stepping stone towards securing that playoff spot. That wraps up our analysis of the Chargers' current situation heading into this crucial matchup against the Buccaneers. What do you all think about their playoff chances? With just 2 wins needed from their final 4 games, are you confident they'll make it to the postseason in Jim Harbaugh's first year? I'm particularly interested in hearing your thoughts on Herbert's quick return to practice. Do you think the coaching staff is making the right call here, or should they be more cautious with their franchise quarterback? Also looking at the bigger picture, okay, how impressed are you with this team's transformation under the new regime? To be in playoff contention during a rebuilding year is no small feat. Drop your predictions for their remaining games in the comments below, and let me know if you think they can secure those 2 crucial wins. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more NFL analysis and hit that notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.